What's up, guys? Mickle here, and after a couple days of being in a slow news cycle, things picked up in a massive way today. One of the questions I get all the time on the channel is whether or not the SEC is ultimately going to appeal the Ripple SEC case. Guys, we just got a fascinating opinion from someone who used to work at the SEC, as well as Jeremy Hogan weighing in on it. Guys, I think you are going to like this a lot and confirms a lot of the things we have been talking about on this channel. Guys, towards the end of the video, though, I also want to talk about something else fascinating, which is Ripple's central bank partnerships all around the world. Guys, we just got an update on that, as well as when Ripple plans to stop selling XRP. Guys, you are not going to want to miss this video. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like the videos and subscribe to the channel. These two things really do mean so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So guys, do not forget that if you're someone who wants to get access to Ripple pre-IPO stock but is not an accredited investor, make sure you check out the link in the description of this video to join the mastermind group by Beyond Broke. This group will allow you to get access to Ripple pre-IPO stock, and all you have to do is use the code Mickle1MO, and you'll actually get your first month free. I want to move on, though, and jump into the very exciting news today, which is some serious discussion on whether or not the SEC is going to appeal the Ripple SEC case. Now, I want to say right now, this is something I have talked about a lot over the last couple of months, but have wanted to be extremely conservative around because I don't want to give people false hope that I don't think the SEC is going to appeal the Ripple SEC case, and then they end up doing it. Because one of the reasons I've been saying I do not believe the SEC is ultimately going to appeal this case is because it's a losing case. The SEC cannot rewrite the facts here. They brought a bad case against Ripple, and they're stuck with those facts no matter what circuit this goes to. The SEC alleged pretty much fraud in this case, but couldn't prove a single thing Ripple did wrong throughout this entire 3-year battle. And what have we learned through this entire 3-year battle? Ripple took all the precautions they thought were necessary to make sure they were selling XRP in an appropriate way. And the judge agreed with Ripple. She said, I don't understand why Ripple should have known these things might have been securities. By any indication, SEC, you made it seem like they weren't, and to change your mind at the last minute and sue them doesn't make any sense. Judge Torres went out of her way to say XRP itself is not a security and only said a small subset of Ripple's sales are securities transactions. So why in the world would the SEC pick this case to go to the Second Circuit when they have other much stronger cases, like against Coinbase, where staking in the exchange itself is likely going to be roped into the securities regulation? Guys, I want you to listen to a former SEC official specifically talking about whether or not the SEC is going to appeal the Ripple SEC case. Guys, I have a feeling all the experts that predicted that the SEC was going to appeal this case and we were going to be in a battle with the SEC for 3 to 4 more years are going to be flat on their face wrong because the facts simply don't make sense here. Listen to this.
On the Ripple appeal point, I'll be curious to see whether the parties appeal there. I think there's some speculation that because Judge Rakoff in the Terra opinion explicitly disagreed with Judge Torres's logic from the Ripple opinion, and then Coinbase doesn't really address the Ripple opinion as much, but almost pretty explicitly adopts the Terra logic. I think there's some speculation that the SEC might just let the Ripple opinion stay there as a district court opinion and not risk, elevating it to a circuit level where they could potentially elicit bad law when they have otherwise favorable rulings in the aftermath of the Ripple litigation. So it'll be interesting to watch after the remedies phase concludes whether either party.
Guys, I'm not an attorney like many of you probably understand by now, but it is so nice when I put my opinions out there and then they are validated by sophisticated attorneys. I have been very clear in saying that the SEC's case against Ripple has been a losing case. They have bad facts. We went over that. So why would the SEC elevate this case out of any other case to the Second Circuit when they can just elevate one of the cases they are much more likely to win? I believe the SEC is just going to take the L in the Ripple SEC case. They did get a small win on Ripple's institutional sales, and it looks like Congress is agreeing with Judge Torres anyway that the tokens aren't securities. So it doesn't make sense for the SEC to elevate this case. They have other cases that they have a much better chance of winning that will go to the Second Circuit and will likely be a much better opportunity for them to take more control of the cryptocurrency market. And Jeremy Hogan actually weighed in on this. He said sound logic. Plus, remember that even if the SEC wins the appeal, the case just comes back down to the trial court for further factual determinations. There is no final glorious victory for the SEC up in the Second Circuit, just a potential for disaster. I want to read that last part again. There is no final glorious victory for the SEC up in the Second Circuit, just the potential for disaster. Guys, the Ripple SEC case has already been a disaster for the SEC. The last thing they want to do is make it a disaster in a higher level court. The SEC has better cases to bring to the Second Circuit, and I do not believe this Ripple SEC case will go to the Second Circuit. I talked about yesterday how the SEC actually dropping their charges against Consensus is also an indication that the political pressure against the SEC is going to be another thing that makes them not appeal this case. Guys, to me, the tides are turning, and I don't believe the Ripple SEC case will be going to the Second Circuit. I want to move on, though, and talk about two more things very quickly because, guys, this is just very good news for when this case is over. What we know is Ripple has been building fast and big things behind the scenes that we're not privy to know about. And a lot of people constantly say, oh, why don't they tell us about these things? Why doesn't Ripple go and make all their partnerships public? Why doesn't Ripple tell us about the central banks? Well, guys, James Wallace, the head of Ripple CBDC team, is going to answer that for you right now. And this clip should really let you know that, guys, Ripple is doing massive things behind the scenes, but they are not marketing their products to you. Their institutional partners don't want Ripple to tell the public about the things they're building, and therefore Ripple can't tell the public about the things they're building. Listen to this.
Which central banks in which countries are you working on?
We're working with many of them. You know, they're mostly under non-disclosure agreements, so I'm not at liberty to share the details. But I would say, you know, we are working with them in each continent apart from Antarctica. You know, the study by the Bank for International Settlements estimates, I think, 80 to 85% of central banks are doing some work. We're at different stages.
Which central bank?
I'm not sure what else some people need to hear. There was a narrative for a while that Ripple wasn't working with banking institutions. They are working with many central banks, one from each continent. Guys, I will say this one last time. Ripple is not marketing their products to you and me. They are marketing their products to the largest institutions out there. And those institutions are telling Ripple, hey, please do not go and tell the world about what we're building. These large institutions move slow, they move methodically, but eventually the products they are building with Ripple will come online. I speculate that the Ripple SEC case is what's held a lot of this back. And when it is finally over, and when this case does not go to an appeal, I think people are going to realize that the things the XRP community has been studying for a while now turned out to be true. They just weren't appreciated by the market because the market needed to hear them from Ripple themselves. Ripple hasn't wanted to tell them. We just figured it out beforehand. Guys, I want to finish this video off and talk about one last thing because this is pretty fascinating. A lot of people look at the amount of XRP that Ripple has, the 45 billion still in escrow, and are saying, hey, there is still so much more XRP for Ripple to sell. Well, guys, we actually just got confirmation that Ripple plans to not sell or retain 25% of their XRP position. Guys, this means Ripple's probably going to be holding on to around 20 to 25 billion XRP, maybe 15 billion, wherever that number lands for the long run. So Ripple actually has a lot less selling than many people understand. Why does Ripple want to hold on to that XRP? Well, it's leverage in the system, right? Ripple is bullish on XRP and they want to be able to utilize XRP for their next generation products and to facilitate liquidity. But a lot of people look at Ripple's escrow and say they still have so much more XRP to dump onto the market. And guys, I don't think that's true. If Ripple is planning to retain 25% of the XRP, and there's also some institutions, maybe like some of the central banks we were talking about, that also have a claim on some of that escrow, guys, there might be a lot less XRP to distribute than many people fully understand. One of the reasons these central banks and large banking institutions might not want to directly hold the XRP themselves is just because their custody solutions aren't in place. Or maybe there's regulatory reasons why they don't actually want to hold on to it. It's better just to have Ripple hold on to it for now. Guys, I really do believe that a lot of the institutions that have been working with Ripple since the early days understand there is value to holding the XRP. And I believe a lot of the XRP left in escrow, while much of it will be distributed, might already be allocated to institutions. It looks like Ripple themselves has already allocated some of that XRP to them, and they are going to be using that to facilitate liquidity in their next generation products. I just wanted to point this out because a lot of people look at the escrow and say, we're not even close. So much more XRP is coming onto the market. Guys, this tells you right now that Ripple already has plans for a lot of that escrow. And I would be shocked if those plans only include themselves. Ripple has been working with central banks, like we talked about, for a very long period of time. And I have a feeling some of those central banks are likely going to want access to some of the liquidity themselves. Guys, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this update. Thank you so much for coming. Let's see if we can get this video over 2,000 likes. I never talk about the likes on this video, but let's see if we can do it. Guys, thank you so much. You're the best. And for now, Mickle out.